You're listening to the HR Happy Hour Network, sponsored by WorkHuman. By some estimates, over 80% of AI projects fail because of bad data. But here's some good news for HR. When AI leverages the rich, authentic data of employee recognition, you get something truly unique. Human intelligence from WorkHuman, creators of the world's #1 recognition platform. Human intelligence unlocks insights into performance and skills, culture, and engagement, and helps surface feel-good stories that illustrate the best of your company culture. To learn more about human intelligence, go to workhuman.com. That's WORKHUMAN.com. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the HR Happy Hour Network. This is the play-by-play podcast hosted by myself, Jack McFarlane, and Nick Schlemmer.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Well, it's already been a month since our last episode, which is crazy. I feel like time flies. We've had a pretty hectic personal month for the two of us and our whole family. This episode's dedicated to our grandpa. Shout out to you. He's been so strong, although he wouldn't want us to say that for some reason. But yeah, this is dedicated to you, Grandpa. With that being said, let's just jump right in and have a great day.
Yep, I couldn't think of anything better. Grandpa, I know you're listening. We love you. See you soon.
As you guys know, Nick and I are in our senior year of college. We are so close to being done. Our cousin Hallie, already done. My sister Carly, even closer to being done than us. And you know what that means? Time to go get a house, right? A lot of Gen Z's doing it. In fact, about 27% of Gen Z already owns a home. So, Nick, why don't you jump in? Tell us about some of these early trends we're seeing when it comes to home buying with Gen Z.
Yeah, so like Jack mentioned, we're already getting close to entering that real life stage.
Yeah.
Getting a different car, getting a home or an apartment. Oh, here comes the bills. But
Yeah, I mean, lots of interest rates, lots of
yeah,
loans, all
a lot
that
of
fun
fun things to
stuff.
look forward to. But kind of the first thing is, unlike millennials who delayed ownership was kind of due to that 2008 financial crisis that happened, Gen Z is actively seeking affordable and sustainable living solutions. Both of those can be very challenging to find right now,
Yes.
just with how expensive everything is.
Yep.
I mean, you see it across the whole country. But
Yeah, not
Gen,
just not
yeah,
just
go ahead.
homes, not just homes. You see it in groceries, you see it in gas.
Yeah.
Everything is expensive. So the affordable part of that is the biggest problem that I see, at least when I'm researching homes or even apartments, townhomes, stuff like that.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know. Have you done much research on stuff like that, Nick? I know we're still kind of at least a year away before we really have to think about that.
I mean,
What have you seen?
most of everything that I've seen is from a renter's perspective.
Hmm.
You know, we still have that 1 year to go, and so far I've changed in different apartments each year of college, so three different apartments now. Um, and yeah, like everything just seems to keep going up slightly. It's
Yep.
hard to find, you know, if you want a one bed, one bath, even in Nebraska, not a crazy what you would call expensive area, you're
Hmm.
still over $1,000 a month. I mean, in
Easily.
Utah, it's probably a little bit more.
Yeah, I remember. So I've actually been at the same apartment complex, and every year my rent goes up and my room doesn't change. So that right there tells you it's getting more expensive. And I was just looking to maybe try a different apartment complex for my last year, and a one bedroom, private apartment near Salt Lake City was like, I don't know, like $1,500 I was looking at.
Yeah.
So I think part of that, at least in Salt Lake, there's not a lot of student housing. You kind of have to live outside the city. But even then, I mean, right now I'm in an apartment where I have three other roommates. I've got a private bedroom, but a shared bathroom, just normal apartment. It's like $700 a month now, and it will probably go up
Yeah.
another $25. And that's for
Mhm.
renting an apartment. So,
Yeah.
getting a mortgage in this day and age and having your own home, it can be really challenging. And that's why we only see about 27% of Gen Z in that stage of life. Um, I think Nick had a good point in our pre-show meeting to mention that Gen Z is 1997 to 2012. So,
Hmm.
we're kind of on the earlier end, I'd say, right? 2001, 2003.
Yeah.
So, a lot more of Gen Z is going to be coming to this stage. In fact, by 2030, it's expected that 30% of all homeowners will be Gen Z. So that number will just continue to exponentially rise.
Yeah.
So some of these trends that we're about to discuss can fluctuate, but we're already seeing a huge shift from millennials to Gen Z. So why don't you take us through kind of the sustainable side of things? So we've kind of talked affordable, that's hard to do, but Gen Z, we're seeing a huge change in sustainable housing. So why don't you kind of take us through what people are looking for in that regard?
Something that I know I would be looking for, assuming Jack, you'd be doing the same thing, or something that involves energy efficient homes, whether it has smart thermostats or eco modes on all the appliances, just to keep those bills lower. Because, like we said earlier, everything is going up in price. So,
Hmm.
if we can lower the bills, that's just an added bonus, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But so we're looking for those properties who may have solar panels, like I mentioned, the thermostats, the water saving appliances. And another thing that we could look at is what they call green certifications. So those are properties that have LEED certification, similar to um, eco labels that will attract more Gen Z buyers.
Yeah. And that just basically means
Yeah.
that, and just to jump in real quick, kind of cutting Nick off, that just basically means that an expert has come into your house and they've given you the stamp of approval. Yes, this is an eco-friendly home. So it's
Mhm.
just a way that if you were buying it, you would know that an independent person has come in and said, yes, this is eco-friendly. And that is attractive to a lot of Gen Z home buyers. So continue, Nick. Sorry to cut you off.
No, yeah, 100%. I'm glad you clarified that. And then kind of my last touching point here for the sustainability aspect would be some sort of a walkable community. Now,
Hmm.
Jack, I don't know if you want to touch on that a little bit more, but
Yeah.
I would imagine that is something that is, maybe close distance to where our jobs might be, or walkable communities to like the grocery store, all of those places that we'll need on a daily to weekly basis.
But yeah, you pretty much hit the nail on the head there. That was something I honestly didn't think of before doing my research for this. And then the more I thought about it in research, the more I realized I kind of have some of those things right now. So basically, a walkable community, just like Nick said, your work's close, grocery store's close, your friends, your family, everything that you would normally need is close around you in walking distance. Now,
Hmm.
walking distance and quote, it could be stretched out further than you want to walk, but just close enough to where you're not commuting an
Yeah.
hour to work every day or
Yeah.
driving 30 minutes to the grocery store, stuff like that. And in my case, I didn't even think about this. I've got two grocery stores that are so close. I mean, they are literally right down the road in either direction. I take
Hmm.
my electric scooter everywhere. Nick and I did that all the time in Nebraska when I was there. Electric
Yeah.
scooter all over campus. It saved a lot of gas. It was good for the environment. Um, Now you can debate on the making of an electric scooter, but that's not what we're arguing.
Yeah.
um, that's basically what that means is that everything you would normally need is in a really nice distance. And I know even when I look forward to buying a house, I want to be in an area that is close to the beach. I don't have to be on the beach. I just want it to be warm weather, but I want it to be close
Yeah.
enough where I could take a bike to the beach. That's like
Yeah.
an odd requirement that I really want for my first place, whether it be a house, an apartment. Um, I don't know. Do you
Hmm.
have anything like that? Have you thought subconsciously anything on the sustainable side? Because I was doing that and I didn't even realize it. You know what I mean?
No, I agree with you. I was kind of in the same boat. I think that I've personally gotten quote unquote lucky with my housing choices so far. They've all been super close to the grocery store, to school, to work, even just a few miles away. Now,
Hmm.
granted, like in Nebraska, where I go to the university, it's all downtown essentially.
Hmm.
Everything's relatively close. But just moved down to Florida for internship, and I literally have a Walmart less than 2 blocks away. We could walk there if we really needed to.
Yep.
And it's something that I would never really think of until maybe I'm purchasing that first home. Then I would look into what's around. But
Hmm.
yeah, I never really think of that, and that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's like very subconscious in our minds. Like the more I sat here and thought about, all the places that we've lived and where I want to eventually end up, um, So it was interesting to see that as like a huge trend. That was like one of the number one things I saw over and over again in all these different studies and papers I was reading about this topic. That came up in I think every single one of them was a walkable community. Um, well, let's pretend you know kind of what you're looking for. Now, how are you going to find a home? Because that has changed too. With the use of technology and even AI, everything has
Mhm.
changed in every aspect of life. That includes finding homes. Um, Nowadays, you can go on Zillow, right? I've used Zillow a bunch.
Yeah,
That's
Zillow.
fantastic for finding homes. You don't really need to go through a realty agent, a realtor. um, AI powered searches are very, very popular. There's a number of them. If you just looked up AI powered home or apartment,
Hmm.
they will pop up 20 pages of Google with them. Um,
Yeah.
my one knock on them, I don't know if you've run into this problem, at least for apartments, is they always want, they kind of ask some questions like, oh, how many bedrooms, what type of amenities do you want, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, oh, in your email and we'll send you the results. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. I just want to see it. So
I
I
always
kind of
click
have
off
beef with
those.
them for that. I'm like, just show me the apartments. Like, I don't want to give you my email and get
Hmm.
spammed. Um, but if you
And
do find a good site, there's often virtual home tours or
yep.
AR augmented reality. So you can like for this current apartment, they had something like that, and so I was able to go online and it's kind of like Google Earth. Click through the arrows, you get to see. You can move around your screen 360, and that was actually a huge reason why I ended up choosing here because I felt really confident in the room I was going to be getting.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, so there's a lot of things like that when it just comes to finding homes. Everything has changed. So let's pretend you've kind of found the house you want. You used your AI search, Nick. Okay, you used it. You found what you
Okay.
want. But like we were talking about, it is getting expensive. So real estate companies are starting to offer new financing models to help with that. Why don't you take us through some of these newer things that we're seeing with these Gen Z home buyers?
Yeah, of course. And the first one that I want to mention and talk about is the rent to own programs. I know a couple of my friends personally have started doing this. So they're already on the road to, building the equity and that credit that we need, that credit score to eventually own and purchase a home of ourselves. But yeah, real estate companies offer those alternative financing models for well, not only for Gen Z, for everybody, but Gen Z is taking the most advantage of it, is a good
Hmm.
way to put it, I think, Jack. Um,
Yeah.
and there's also now the statistics on it, I don't have much data on, but first time home buyer rates for our generation with the Gen Z are actually lower than those of previous generations
Hmm.
at the same age, at the Gen Z age that we're at 20 to 25, roughly in that age. We're starting to get into that purchasing time. But yeah, the lease option, the lease purchase agreements, which I think is a great way
Hmm.
for Gen Z to, like I said, grow their credit and build equity to their name.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. It's a great way to build equity while still renting. Like, so basically, how they work is you sign your contract, and let's say it's an apartment. It's a one bed, one bath solo. It's your apartment. Well, you sign the contract, and it works like a normal rental agreement. You pay rent, and it's just a normal rental agreement. But then there's a second contract, and sometimes it's an obligation and sometimes it's an option. Depends on your
mhm,
situation. But that's basically saying at a certain point, you will then turn around and buy that apartment and end the lease and then own it. So it's a way that
mhm,
although you're paying rent to start and it's not yours, you're saying, I will eventually buy this. And then you can start building equity, helping out your credit until maybe you can get the mortgage that's right for you or a loan that's right for you. Um, and like Nick said, plenty of people in Gen Z are doing that. I mean, he personally knows people that are doing that. It is a great way
mhm.
to get started on the road to owning a home. Um, and then here's another interesting thing. I don't know, I haven't really seen this yet, but it doesn't surprise me. They're starting to use smart contracts with the blockchain. So we had an episode that went over the blockchain not too long. How many episodes ago was that, Nick? I mean, 3 or 4 episodes ago.
Yeah,
It
three
wasn't.
episodes.
It was a couple months ago, but episode wise, not long ago. And basically, they're using the blockchain to streamline the whole process. I remember when my family moved, we went to this place in Colombia and we sat down for, I don't know, it felt like hours and hours, and mom and dad just signing paperwork and paperwork, blah, blah, blah. And then you hand them the keys, right? Everyone knows all the boring stuff. This is a way that just gets rid of all that paperwork. You can do it so much faster. It's super transparent and super duper secure because it is on the blockchain. Now, I haven't heard personally of anyone doing this yet. I think it's very, very new. Have you seen anyone doing that at all?
No, I haven't personally seen anything, but from what it sounds like, I'd imagine that this is only going to become more and more relevant,
Mm-hmm.
even within the um, even within the realty offices.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think if I was selling you a home, Jack, I would rather everything be done by the buyer to just have
Mm-hmm.
that done prior to, us sitting down and me handing you the keys. I think that would
Yeah,
be,
I agree. And I feel like the need for the physical paperwork aspect of it isn't that big anymore, because if you do it on the blockchain, the information will always be there. It will always be
Mhm.
secure. You can go
Yeah.
back in 50 years and track it to exactly. So it's not like it'd be like, oh, what if we lose it? Like it's probably more secure than the paper version anyway,
Mhm.
and it's faster. So I think you're
And
right. I
yeah.
think we'll see that in all of home buying. And that'd be really cool because, that kind of leads me into the next point and how technology is affecting not only how you buy the home and mortgage the home, loan out the home, it's where you buy the home at. So way back in the
Mhm.
day, if you wanted, if you wanted to work a nice office job, you are going to the city. You might live in the suburbs, 30 minutes, an hour away from the city, but you're going to New York, right? You're going to San
Yeah.
Francisco, Chicago, St. Louis has a lot of, any major city. But with the change of technology that we've seen, and I mean, even just the past 10 years, I mean, if you look back a decade ago at the technology, it's night and day better now.
Mhm.
Imagine in another 10 years. That allows people to kind of live wherever you want. So you're starting
Yeah.
to see that a lot of these secondary cities are starting to blow up, or even people that just are able to live out kind of in the middle of nowhere, for lack of a better term, and still do their job perfectly because of the technology. Um,
Yeah.
I know like Austin, Denver, Raleigh, they're all becoming really big. I mean, we've personally seen Denver grow over the past couple of
Mhm.
years. We've been there a decent amount. Um, I would say places like Salt Lake as well, but there's already so many people here. I don't know how there could even be more people here. I can't imagine it's growing. It's crazy out here. But yeah, have you kind of seen that? I mean, you're in Lincoln. I'm sure just in starting college, you've seen it expand too. That's kind of a place that I would consider like a secondary city.
100%. In the state of Nebraska, there's not too much in
Mm-hmm.
in a better blacker terms. There's not too much going on. So Lincoln is, it's the capital city. You call it a city, it's nothing like, New York or
It's
San
not like
Francisco.
skyscrapers,
Yeah,
like
we
really
don't have
dense.
any
Yeah.
skyscrapers or anything like that. But I would say that it is growing. I think more and more
Mm-hmm.
people, to that point that you made, are coming to those affordable metropolitan areas where they have a city-like feel,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not coming with that huge price tag that you
Yeah,
anticipate with living in a big city.
exactly. Yeah, it's nice because you can do your work from anywhere, really. As long as you have an internet connection and, I mean, even just a simple laptop, you're able to do most things from anywhere nowadays. Like you really could, if you had an internet connection, you could go out in the middle of the woods, sit there and do your work. As long as you somehow got, maybe you could use the Starlink,
Uh-huh.
is that Elon
Yeah.
Musk? Yeah, you could use that out in the woods to do your work, right? So I think you'll see a lot more people being spread out and not attracted to those
Yeah.
big cities, especially in another 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the road, um,
And I
just
would
with
say
that technology.
too, a thought that I just had was, with these remote jobs that are becoming more and more relevant with every year that passes by, we always think of we have that retirement destination or
Mm-hmm.
like where we want to end up with a remote job
Oh,
and everything. Like, say, Florida, for example. Florida is packed and is only growing more. Like Jack said with Salt Lake, I don't know how you could fit more people down here. But with a remote job and you want to be somewhat close to the water, just like Jack wants, you
Yep.
could do that. You don't have to
Exactly.
wait until like you don't have to go find a specific job that is hosted in Florida. You could
Yeah.
have a job that
That's a great
whose
point.
base is in, Salt Lake and live
Yeah.
in Florida.
That's a great point. It's actually funny you mentioned that. I'm doing the opposite. So my internship, the company is based in Florida. And of course, I'm working in Salt Lake in the cold in the mountains, freezing in the snow while they're tanning on the beach. You know? But that's a great point. Yeah, you don't need to wait. I didn't think of that. You don't really need to wait for, oh, when I retire, I'm moving to Florida or I'm moving to Alabama. I'm going to the beach. You can just go there and work from there.
hmm
You don't, that's a really good point, Nick. I
It
didn't
just
think of that.
shows that the world, technology, the business in the world, everything it's always changing. It's always adapting. Always new things.
Yeah. And that couldn't be more true with Gen Z in the housing market. I mean, like we've said, it's just starting, right? 1997 are the earliest. We're kind of near the beginning, which is crazy to think about. Um,
hmm
but these trends will change over time as more and more buy homes, but they will shape the real estate market for decades now, just like millennials did in the generations before.
Yep.
You know, we'll see more sustainability. Tech friendly is another big one, and hopefully affordable homes, right?
yeah.
That's what we want to
Hopefully.
see. Um, but yeah, only time will tell exactly how these trends play out. But I thought it was super cool to kind of dive deep into these early Gen Z home buyers, especially since we're right there. I mean, we're a year away. If we do this podcast
Yeah.
episode in a year, we could be doing it from our own homes. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
it is
Which
pretty
is
crazy to
wild to
think
think
about.
about.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, I'm going to give Nick a first of its kind AI Gen Z quiz. So stick around for that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, we're back, and it's time for, I'm going to call it a mini game time. It's not really a win or lose game.
hmm
Today's episode was all about Gen Z and home buying, and I thought, what would be a better way than to see how Gen Z Nick really is? So I've been in the lab with Gemini AI back and forth, making my own, well, I guess, should I say our own? It's AI,
yeah.
it's Gemini and mine. Like, we teamworked this, and it's going to tell us, is Nick a true Gen Zer? So we're going to find out. I'm going to read him a question, give him the couple responses, and then he'll just give me that. And at the end, we will find out if Nick is really a Gen Z or if maybe he's like a boomer in disguise. So
Who
are you
knows?
ready for this, Nick?
I'm interested to see how I fit in.
Okay. And if you're watching on YouTube, feel free. You can see the questions, read along. I'll explain the scoring at the end. So if you play along, just track your answers down, and then you can also get your own score. So let's jump right in with question one. This will be 20 questions.
Okay.
All right. When you need to learn something new, like fixing a leaky faucet or understanding a business concept, where do you typically go first? Do you go to Google, YouTube, TikTok, or Instagram Reels? Do you ask a family member or friend, or do you consult a book or like a traditional course, like a learning course? So which of those would you say is most like you?
Most likely me would be I would go to Google first.
You'd go to Google first. And we're off. Question two. What's your go-to weekend vibe? Are you hitting up a trendy restaurant or bar? You binge watching a new show? Are you playing some video games? Are you exploring a local market or outdoor activity? Working a side hustle or personal project? Or finally just relaxing at home and having some quiet time?
Ooh, I would say let's go with exploring a local market or outdoor activity. Mainly the outdoor activity part
Yep.
for golf.
Yep. Golfing, right? Okay, that's kind of what I think that's what I answered too when I did this quiz. So yeah, the outdoor activity. All right. What is your preferred way to discover new music? Are you using like Spotify? Has that AI where it makes the playlist for you?
hmm
TikTok, we've seen TikTok songs just blow up in the past over a year now. Are you getting friend recommendations? You hearing it on the radio, or are you exploring niche music blogs? I can't imagine that's what you're doing, but maybe, maybe.
So here recently, I've been getting a lot of the new songs off of TikTok.
Off of TikTok.
I even have a whole separate saved page just for
Just from
music that I
TikTok
find on there,
songs.
so then I
Well,
can
there you
add it
go.
to my Spotify.
I think more and more people are doing that. I noticed that, I usually don't listen to the radio. It was on a long road trip, and it's like every song you heard was a song that was somehow had a clip on TikTok or famous on TikTok. So I
Hmm.
think that's super common nowadays. Um, yeah, that's pretty good. So no niche music blog for you. You're not a niche
Yeah, no
music blog.
blogs.
Okay. All right. All right. So what next question is, what's your stance on quiet quitting? We've talked about that quite a bit on the show.
Hmm.
Um, do you think it's a valid way to maintain work-life balance? Do you think it's lazy and that you should strive for more? Uh, it could depend on the job and company culture, or are you too busy to even worry about it?
I think it would depend more on the job and the company culture as to what
Yeah.
would determine
Yeah.
a
I
good
think I
time to
agree.
do that and not. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. All right, question 5. Your ideal form of digital communication. Is it texting,
Oh.
voice notes or video messages, Discord or Slack, email or phone call? And I think I would include things like Snapchat, Instagram as probably video messaging or maybe text. Um,
Okay.
or
Um,
maybe Discord because that's social media. We'll say
yeah.
social media is C with Discord email.
Honestly, texting for me.
Texting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Texting, it's solid. It's always good. Um, what is your fashion philosophy, Nick? I'm really
Oh.
interested in this. Okay, are you
Gray, white, and
comfort
black.
and practical? Do you stay on top of all the latest trends? Are you a big thrifter? Do you go for more classic, timeless looks, or are you just throwing on whatever's clean and right there in your closet?
I would say comfortable and practical.
Yep, I would have guessed that, and that's exactly what I said too. So, I don't know, maybe you're staying on, you're out in Florida. You could be on the latest trends, I don't know.
You definitely see them out here, but
Yeah. Okay, question number 7. When it comes to financial planning, where do you get your advice? Do you go to reputable news sites, like Forbes, or Yahoo Money? They have all that stuff. It's like
Mhm.
Google in a way. Are you on TikTok or Instagram again with those finfluencers, which is kind of a new word I learned about. I didn't know there was a difference between a finfluencer and an influencer. Um, are you going to family or friends, personal trial and error, or are you hoping education, like through school and books, will get you there?
I would say family and friends.
Family and friends,
Yeah.
always solid. How do you feel about the concept of the metaverse? Another topic we've covered on this show before. Do
Metaverse.
you think it is the future and you are super excited about it? Do you think it's interesting but not fully convinced yet? Do you think it's just hype and it won't really go anywhere? Or do you only use it for like gaming and socializing? You don't really see it as going anywhere further.
I would say I'm so torn. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna go with it is the future, and I'm
Okay.
excited about its potential. I think it could still be quite a bit down the road to fully
Mm-hmm.
unlock its potential, but I think it's coming.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It's got a long way to go, but I can see the vision. You really
Mhm.
can do everything with those meta quests, and I assume they'll only get better. So I agree with you there, but it might take a while. All right, what is your opinion on physical media like vinyl records, DVDs, and books? Okay.
Mm.
Do you think they're essential for the authentic experience and collecting? Do you just like it for the aesthetics and prefer digital? Is it a relic of the past? Fully digital is better? Or do you only use it for things that aren't available digitally?
I'm gonna sound super Gen Z and say
Oh,
it's a
no.
relic of the past, and say
I'd have to agree with you there. I mean, the fact that just having it for the aesthetic would be a common answer amplifies that it's a thing in the past, right?
it's a thing of the
I agree
past.
with you there. All right, question 10. If you're buying something new, what's your primary concern? Are you thinking about the price, the brand, how sustainable or ethical it is, how unique or niche it is, or its
Mm.
functionality?
Wow. I'd like to say I go through all of those whenever I'm
Yep.
making
And I
financial
think a
decisions.
good purchase would go through all
Yeah.
of those. But if you had to pick
I would say
one,
the first thing I'm looking at is the price tag.
yep, I agree with you there, and I think many people would. How do you react to online criticism or negative comments? So let's pretend you were a finfluencer maybe, and you're getting
Mm-hmm.
hate comments. How are you going to react? Are you engaging politely and addressing it? Or are you just going to ignore it because it's just noise and it is just the internet? Does it bother you, but you don't want to let it show? Are you going to clap back, with a nice response? That one's tempting. Or do you just never really encounter it? You're not really on social media like that. I think for this
I would.
question, let's assume you are on social media. Like, let's assume you're an influencer and you're
Okay.
getting hate. Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's the best way to answer this one.
Honestly, I would do my best to ignore it.
Yeah. I think that's always the right choice. There's no need to clap back, although it would be tempting, I feel like, to,
I was going to say, although I'm sure a lot of
against it.
people are faced with, they want to, but
Right. But I think that's always the right choice. You got to remember it's just the internet. Can't let it affect you. But well, let's move on to question 12. What is your go-to snack after a long day? Are you going for something that's nostalgic from your childhood? Are you eating something that's trendy, healthy, like this isn't good. I can't think of some healthy, trendy snack. I've been snacking on like sugar snap peas recently. I think that would
okay.
go into that category. Something like
Yeah.
that. Are you doing just whatever's right there, quick and easy, grab and go type food? Or would you just sit down and just cook a meal or a small meal at that instead of snacking around?
No, I would say not necessarily trendy, but the healthy snacks,
Healthy
100%.
snacks. Yeah. I try my best. I try my best to get those healthy snacks. Doesn't always work. All right. When you hear the words side hustle, of this list, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Is it driving for rideshare like Uber, content creation, freelancing, reselling, like if you go to a thrift store and then,
Mm-hmm.
sell it on eBay? A lot of people do that. Or is it something that hasn't really been figured out quite yet and that would be new for you?
Ooh, I would say the first thing when I hear side hustle out of those, I would think of reselling.
Reselling. Yep. And you know what? You actually did that for a while.
I did do
So
that
that
for a
makes
while.
sense.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting close, Nick. Question 14. How important is a brand's social impact to your purchasing decision? Is it extremely important, important, it's nice but not a deal breaker, or it does not matter at all?
I would say it's nice, but it's not a deal
Nice,
breaker.
not a deal breaker.
Mm-hmm.
All right, question 15. What is your preferred way to unwind after a busy week? Are you sitting down and scrolling through social media, TikTok, and just kind of zoning out? Are you going outside and being active? Maybe you meet up with some friends in person. Maybe you're going to read or listen to a podcast. You could listen to the latest episode of the Play by Play. That's always a good option.
Agreed.
Or you're going to play some video games.
Man, I feel like it changes honestly through a few of those options.
Mm-hmm.
I would say with going outside and being active is probably my weekend wind down.
Yep. A lot of golf. Golf can be relaxing.
A lot of golf and a lot of golf.
And being outside in the sun, even just, chilling, that
Exactly.
is relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
Golf can be exhausting.
Yeah.
Okay. We're almost there. You discover a new core aesthetic. What is your first response? Here are your quotes to choose from. It's time to overhaul your wardrobe or room. You'll observe it from a distance, maybe get a shirt here, some pants there.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just another trend? You're sticking to your guns, you're staying comfy. Or what in the world is a core?
I would say, I want to go with the last one. What in the world is a core? But I would say sometimes I see myself going for the like, I'll see it from a distance, but I might grab a shirt. Like if I think it's
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
But
What
also
in the
D,
world is
what
a
in the
core?
world
Yeah.
is a
What
core?
in the world does core even mean? All right. Your phone dies when you're out. what is your immediate concern? Is it how will
Ugh.
I capture this moment for my story? How will I find my way home? I can finally disconnect and enjoy the present moment. Or how will I contact people if there's an emergency?
The last one. How I
The last
contact
one?
people. Yep.
Yep. I think that's a good response. Depending on where I'd be at, I might be like, how am I getting home? You know?
Yeah, depending. Yeah.
All right, you encounter a viral TikTok sound. What do you do? Are you
Mm.
immediately thinking of how you can use it in a video? Are you adding it to a playlist or sending it to a friend? Are you scrolling past it? It's already overused. Or you have no idea what I'm even talking about.
I would say that. Ooh,
And this
probably
doesn't
scrolling.
have
Probably
yeah, and this
scrolling
doesn't have
past
to be
it.
a song too. So it's any sound. Scrolling past it. You're
If
not
I like it, I'll play it. So
yeah.
maybe hear some more from it. But yeah, we're just gonna
You're
keep
not making a
scrolling.
video. You're not stopping what you're doing in TikTok in a video, Nick.
Yeah,
Maybe you should.
you're not gonna see me busting out any
Maybe.
moves anytime soon.
All right, 2 to go. Pick your ideal comfort watch content.
Mm.
Are you doing a nostalgic cartoon from your childhood? Like maybe you're busting out some SpongeBob. I'll do that or Scooby Doo. That's always a classic for me. Are you going true crime documentary? Are you doing a study with me or lo-fi beats live stream? Or maybe we'll include any music live stream that, just jamming on
Mhm.
some music. Or are you going more classic sitcom like a Seinfeld, Office, stuff like that?
I am 100% nostalgic movie, TV show every
Nice.
single time.
You can't go wrong. You cannot go wrong with the nostalgia. All right, final question before we find out if you're actually a part of Gen Z or you need to be kicked off the podcast forever. Let's find out. Okay, last question. If you had to start a new side hustle tomorrow, which of these would you pick? Are you
Mm.
selling digital art on Etsy? Are you starting a niche social media account to review products? Are you offering local pet sitting or house sitting services? Are you going to consult for small businesses on social media strategy? Or are you going to do something like DoorDash or Uber Eats?
If I had to start
If
a
you had to
side
pick one
hustle
of those,
tomorrow, if I had to do it tomorrow, probably driving or doing like a DoorDash.
yeah, I think
That
that's a
seems
good
to
choice.
be, if I had to do it tomorrow and not put a lot of thought into it, that seems the easiest route.
All right, Nick cannot see my screen. I've got his results pulled up here. Nick, you scored 47 points. To you,
Okay.
that really doesn't mean much right now. Um, are you ready for your answer? This is going to
I am ready.
determine if you still have a job on this podcast, okay? This is a big
Fingers
deal.
crossed.
This was secretly a way to really test you. It's not some fun game. All right. By scoring 47 points, you scored in the exact group of peak Gen Z. You're totally on trend and digitally fluent. Nick is a true
Okay.
Gen Zer. So that the point range there was 36 to 55 points. For you guys playing at home, here's how the points worked. If you answered the answer that was considered the most Gen Z, it was 1 point. And then from there, it went on down 2, 3, 4, 5 points. And I think it was always A was the most, and then it went down like that. So
Okay.
if you're looking right now, you can see Nick's active breakdown here. I'll scroll down real quick and see each question, how many points he scored for a total of 47. Here were the other groups that you missed out on. So 20 to 35 was you're still basically in high school. Your true age is a TikTok prodigy. And
Okay.
then there was peak Gen Z. Then at 56 to 75 was a wise old millennial at heart. You bridged the gap between digital and traditional. Then
That's
you've
what I
got
thought I would be.
76 to 90 points, which is you've got that Gen X skepticism and practicality down. And finally 91 to 100. I was kind of hoping you'd get this. I thought it'd be funny. I didn't think you would, but a true boomer soul. You appreciate the classics and perhaps a slower pace. So, if you had to guess, Nick, what do you think I got on this?
I would say in between the point ranges, you are probably peak Gen Z as well.
I was super close. I was at 58 points, so I was a wise old millennial at heart. But I was
Honestly,
so
that's
close to
what I
Gen
thought
Z.
I would
Yeah.
be. I thought I would
Right?
fall into that category.
Right? Because I mean, you you don't strike me as the classic, what the stereotypical Gen Z would be,
Mhm.
very TikTok and phone obsessed. That is for anyone that wants to know. Nick is not phone obsessed. He's not on much social media, so he is not a stereotypical Gen Z. But it's good to know that you're peak Gen Z, right?
That's
And
good.
you get to keep your
I
job here
keep
at
my
the
job on the
podcast.
podcast.
It was really just a test the whole time, and I'm glad you passed.
Me too. Well, that
All
was
right.
fun, Jack. Thank you. That
Yeah,
was
of
that was a good
course.
surprise for this show.
Of course. We'll take another quick break. We'll come back with everyone's favorite quote of the show.
Alrighty, guys, we are wrapping up today's episode talking about all about Gen Z in the housing market and everything of that nature, and then interesting half game time there at the end.
Yeah, mini game time. Mini game
Mini game
time.
time. Spoiler: if you skip to the end of the show, I'm still Gen Z. We're
Yeah, Nick
good.
is peak Gen Z.
But for today's quote of the show, I wanted to kind of focus on the first topic with the housing market and everything of that. So this is coming from, and I don't know who this is, sadly, but Louis Glickman is the person who said this, and I quote, "The best investment on earth is earth." You can't get any more
Oh,
simple than that. You can't get.
whoa. Deep quote for quote of the show from Nick. Always bringing it with the quotes. One day we should do a switch episode. I'll bring on a quote and
Oh.
it's gonna flop like none other because I'm not gonna be as good as that. Oh, fantastic as always, Nick.
Thank you, Jack.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. We really appreciate all the support. We hope you guys had a blast. We hope you guys had blast. No, we hope you had a blast. Hopefully, you were able to play along with the Gen Z quiz. Let us know. Are you still in high school TikTok prodigy? Or are you a boomer at soul? We would love to know. And once again, shout out to Grandpa. And yeah, thanks, guys.
Yes. Thank you for tuning in today, and bye for now.